Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel, our regular Sunday afternoon session with Jamie from the UK, Porky's Corner alumni and master of all things boxing. Jamie, how the devil are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm having a bit of a bad hair day, Bob, as you can see. So I do apologise if I look like Krusty the Clown, everyone. Um, yeah, ready to talk boxing. Nice to see you, Bob.
Nice to see you too, mate. I noticed that when we started on Andy's channel the other day, you had a nice shave and your hair was all done. So, clearly trying to impress, Andy's Cavern in Scotland. But what are us Canadians? What are we? We're colonials. We're Dominionites. 51st
No, no, no,
staters.
no. What I'm doing, I'm trying to emulate you, Bob, and your bad boy beard. That's what I'm trying to do. I idolise you. That's what it is.
um, so this weekend we've had a positive who's who of boxing. We had Garcia, Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Jaime Munguia, Martin Bacoli, Saul Canelo Alvarez, a real who's who. We should be absolutely like pigs in poo, all happy and relaxed and sort of thoroughly pleased as fans. But tell me,
Mm.
what do you think?
It was probably one of the most boring weekends of boxing I've seen in a while, Bob. And I know, obviously, we're supposed to talk it up. Well, if you was working for the media, you'd talk it up, wouldn't you, and be like, "Oh yeah, everything's vastly positive." But for the array of talent on show on paper, I don't think it really offered a very satisfying visual offering. So I'm not sure about you, but that was my position on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I had, 60,000 subscribers and I was a big media channel with access to Darth Warren and Eddie the Snake, I suppose I would be saying, it was the greatest that, we'd ever seen and groundbreaking. But since I'm just a fan, the same as anybody else, I have to say that never in the field of combat sports has so much been promised by so few to so many that turned out to be complete and utter tripe.
Mm.
What a complete load of bollocks.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I don't know where we start. Should we what do you think of the Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza Jr. fight?
Well, I mean, Tio did all right, didn't he? He got out there and did what he was supposed to do. Um, but again, not very impressive from Tio. You're expecting him to sort of set the world alight, and he didn't. The thing is with Tio Lopez, he's very hit and miss, and I tend to think like he, he tends to fight to his level a lot of the time, and um, Barboza there beating Jack Catterall in his last fight. You'd sort of think, well, he deserves to be on the level with Tio Lopez, really, because Catterall, you could argue, was the man at light welterweight for a while because of his win against Josh Taylor, that wasn't a win.
Yeah.
So Barboza deserved to be up there, didn't he? But Tio didn't really. A man who fights to his level, we would sort of suggest. Um, to the level of his opponent, you sort of suggest that maybe Tio didn't actually feel like that. He was quite negative in being positive.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, like he clearly won. Barboza didn't do anything to disrupt his rhythm. Um, but it was an uninteresting display, wasn't it?
Yeah, very trite. And you sort of think, well, Tio Lopez when he beat Lomachenko the first time, you sat there and thought, well, we've got a star in the making it.
Yeah,
And you have really when you look at his confidence and the fact that he can be a bit of a front foot bully and very sort of he can be very flashy looking. He can be very, very exciting, and then you just get these hit and miss performances. Now, previously, you could have maybe blamed the rocky relationship he was having with his wife. I don't know if they're still together now. I think they got divorced, didn't
I
they?
I think
So,
they're done. Yeah.
so yeah, like that is the whole worries of his relationship and his everything that's going on outside of boxing. You think, well, that's sort of cleared away now. Time for him to really push on with his career, but and I mean he is pushing on because he's winning. But you want to win impressively to impress the fans and sort of really ignite your career and make the most money you can. But yeah, he's just not exciting me. And I think this crop that they were labeling them the new four kings at one point, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Haney, yeah, Haney, Garcia, Lopez, and who was the other one, Bob?
Boots.
Yeah, Boots. Yeah. No, 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 Tank Davis.
Oh yeah,
That
Tank.
was
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was it. And I mean, Tank's the most impressive, but like, I don't know, on this weekend's display,
Well,
it's just absolute
and
rubbish.
look at the last time we saw Tank Davis fight. You know,
Well, yeah,
making up his own rules, right?
exactly. Yeah, and he
So
was
I
arguing.
mean, I like if you said to me, "Oh, well, Teofimo Lopez is fighting again in however many months. Are you going to be watching?" I'm like, I'm not enthused. Like if you think about it, particularly let's focus on on American boxing. You've got Shakur, you've got Boots, you've got Crawford, you've got Tank, and then you talking about Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Tio. Like these are like this is the royal family of American boxing, right? And so
Yeah.
we had royalty on display this past weekend, at least three of the royalty on display. Um,
Hmm.
like Canelo, of course, as well, right? I'm talking about not just US, I mean, like the American continent, right?
Yeah.
We had the best from the Western Hemisphere, so to speak, and it was pretty flat. Like I didn't buy the pay-per-view. I ended up watching it afterwards, but I'm really pleased I didn't spend the money.
No, exactly. It wasn't the four kings. It was more like the four or five paupers, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah,
That's
I
how they
mean,
were fighting.
this was nothing at all like Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Duran. It was just like that you can't even say the names in the same paragraph, right? It's just.
Uh,
Well, what do you think of Devin Haney? D- um, Tell me from the top. What was your impressions of Devin Haney?
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob. But didn't we discussed it yesterday in our group chat with the other gentlemen that we've got, all the other Porky's Angels. Wasn't it said that it was the lowest punch output fight in history
Yeah,
between
yeah.
two combatants?
Well,
Yeah,
somebody, and I'm not sure who it was, but somebody said that the Philip Hergovich and Joe Joyce punch output was greater. So those two big, lumbering, not especially fast heavyweights
mm,
were actually throwing more punches than a pair of welterweights.
yeah. I just
And that's shocking.
again,
If that's true, which
yeah,
I haven't gone to CompuBox and checked this, but if that's true, that's unbelievably embarrassing, right?
massively, yeah. And I think you've really got to look at Ryan Garcia really for the answers there in terms of Devin Haney, because technically you could say, well, that fight didn't happen because of what they've declared it a no contest, didn't they? I believe
Yeah,
the Haney Garcia fight, yeah. So, but he still enjoyed a beating, whether it was legally, you know, justifiable or not. He enjoyed a beating, and I think maybe that's the reason why he's scared of pulling the trigger. He's got a great jab, but he should be letting his hands go a lot more, Haney, and just flat, just very very flat. And it's what you could come to expect probably from an email, what you should come to expect probably from an email champion. He got his first belt via email.
Yeah.
Um, he never really fought his way up through the ranks. Like, he had a questionable win, a very questionable win against Lomachenko. These are our kings, as you say, Bob, and they're giving us performances of paupers.
Well,
So,
I mean, I've said on a number of videos, when I keep making that sort of Freudian slip or whatever, I keep saying that Ryan Garcia beat Devin Haney, and I, always try and correct myself and say, oh no, it was declared a no contest. But regardless of what the record books say, Devin Haney's body and his mind, they know that they took a beating from Ryan Garcia. Whether Ryan
yep,
Garcia was 3 pounds over or not, or whether Ryan Garcia was on Ostarine or not, the fact of the matter is that I think Devin Haney has been psychologically scarred by that beatdown he received from Ryan Garcia, and I don't think he's going to be the same fighter again. The other thing
no,
that I'm thinking about is I know he's not old, but he might already be a shot fighter.
yeah, because he was wasn't he relatively young when he had that world title given to him. I don't want to be
Yeah,
harsh saying given to him, but 22, 23.
yeah. And
So,
it may be that he's kind of cooked at 26, right?
yeah, put the training camps in there. He looks like he lives a life. He's never particularly out of shape, so he's constantly putting stress on his body. Add to that, the fight that never happened. Um, and his body's still kept the score, regardless of whether the fights in the record books or not.
And
He's
his
been expunged. But yeah, he took a beating.
and his mind has kept the score as well. His mind
Mm.
knows that he got his ass handed to him. The other thing
Yep.
I don't I wonder, Bill Haney, his dad, is that overbearing, dominant character. And I wonder if that's been detrimental to Devin Haney. Because, like, even at the press conference, Bill Haney was running off his mouth and yelling at Ryan Garcia. Uh, You know, Haney wasn't fighting Ryan Garcia, but Bill Haney was
No.
still running off at the mouth. And I'm wondering if that's all very unhelpful to Devin Haney. Devin Haney might actually be wanting to say something along the lines of, "Look, I'm really struggling," but Bill Haney is such an overbearing kind of guy. I don't know. I don't often think that dads are that good in boxing.
No. There's very few examples where it's been a
Eh,
positive association, really.
yeah. I mean,
Enzo
I can
Calzaghe, for
Enzio
example.
Calzaghe is about the only one I can actually think of, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it shows as well for them to be shouting at Ryan Garcia at the press conference the way they were. Bill Haney's the mouthpiece for Devin Haney, so
Yeah,
he's obviously living in their head rent free, and you don't need another fighter living in your head rent free before a fight.
yeah.
So
Especially when you're
clearly,
not
he
fighting
spooked
that
them.
fighter.
Yeah, exactly. So he spooked them, as you've suggested there, Bob. And it has obviously, I think it's definitely made an impact. And it is a shame because Haney is a very talented fighter, and let's not forget he did get the win. But a lot of the time, it's about how you look as well in boxing.
Yeah,
It's about the dress, about the dressing up of the win. You know what I mean? Because people like Guillermo Rigondeaux in the past, absolutely master elite boxer, but people being very critical of him because he just would coast to victories. Bernard Hopkins used to get a lot of critique as well.
yeah. Well, Shakur
And
Stevenson, right? I mean, Shakur
yeah,
is possibly the most talented of them all. But
mm,
Shakur he's kind of like watching grass grow. It's
no,
not not thrilling at all, right?
no, he's that boring. Paint watches him dry.
Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, so yeah, again, like when Devin Haney's next fight is announced, it'll probably be a rematch with Ryan Garcia. I think that their their value of their stock has actually gone down, even though Devin Haney won this fight. Um, I see Ryan Garcia. If we can move on to Ryan,
Mm.
I like Ryan Garcia. I know he's a PED cheat, but
Yep.
I kind of like the way that Ryan comes across. Which is, I know it's weird. He's just got multiple personalities and everything, but
It's bizarre, isn't he?
he is bizarre. But for some reason, I like him, and I'm not alone in that. Like he's got millions and millions of followers. I won't say I'm a fan of his, but I kind of like him anyhow.
Yeah.
He's told somebody, I guess it was the Ring magazine or whoever interviewed him, that he was disappointed with quote unquote a horrible performance in his loss to Rolley Romero, and he said that things. He said, what did he say? He said like uh, the bout was an extension of how he felt flat during training camp down in San Diego, which is Southern California. Um, what did you think of the fight, and what do you think is in future for Ryan? Well, and for Rolley for
I
that
mean, I
matter.
mean, I like that assessment because he's not actually turning around and saying, "Oh, training camp went terrible" and all that. He's actually just turned around and he's been honest and just said he felt flat. He could have made more excuses and said he looked absolutely felt absolutely terrible. But I think his performance definitely did show that he was flat. But Rolly needs to we need to give Rolly some credit as well because if you notice when Rolly was fighting, obviously he put Ryan Garcia on his backside.
Yes,
He did it quite well, you know. Also, he fought a very, very disciplined fight, Rolly Romero. The money punch for Ryan Garcia is the left hand. Rolly kept that right hand glued to his head to obviously counter that and to stay disciplined the way that he did throughout the fight. You know, that takes some doing because Rolly
yeah,
Romero's not the he's not the greatest fighter in the world, is he?
no, not at all. He could have easily
No,
gotten excited and carried away, and he could have then got caught by Ryan Garcia's left hand in round 7, 8, or 9, and he could have been put to
definitely.
sleep.
And Garcia did land. He landed one really good left hook that I saw
Yeah,
that did wobble Romero, and Romero, he stayed disciplined, stuck to his game plan, and it's good when a fighter can stick to a game plan. It's kind of, I think, a good trainer potentially for formulating that plan. But fair play to Romero. He's not really my cup of tea. I think he talks too much. He's quite funny because when he trash talks, he's like the least intimidating trash talker in the
yeah,
world,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
With that,
yeah.
he's got
Yeah.
quite
It's like
a effeminate voice, hasn't he?
yeah, like being
But
savaged by a toothless sheep. I mean, it's
yeah,
like
pretty much. I mean, if Mike Tyson wasn't so big and imposing, I would have said the same thing about Mike Tyson. But then you look at him and think, yeah, the guy's an animal. It's
yeah.
sort of like that, isn't it? But
Yeah, Mike Tyson also sounded psychotic, and that little high
yeah,
pitched, squeaky lisp of his, it
yeah,
actually made it worse. But yeah, I hear
I
you.
know.
Rody Romero doesn't like, even though he could beat the shit out of me, he doesn't sort of come across as being somebody I would be frightened of. You
No, he
know,
don't exude menace, does he? But
no,
fair play to him. He got the win. And Ryan Garcia, when he was put on his backside, he did look a little bit spooked.
he
So
did.
I
Yeah,
am inclined to believe. I mean, you could turn around and say, well, are the drugs in his system? We've seen it with, and I don't want to turn this into a Conor Ben discussion. Everybody that knows Jamie knows that Jamie's not a massive fan of Conor Ben. Don't like talking the third person. Uh, James on Porky's Corner is certainly not a fan of Conor Ben. I'm Jamie on this channel, and I Bob. So,
you're a little
but
bit more
yeah,
civilized on this channel, but you don't have to be.
no,
Um,
no, 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 no. Yeah, I prefer it. I prefer, we're a lot calmer. You get the sensible version of me on this channel. So, yeah, yeah, I just think where are we going with Ryan Garcia? I think the Devin Haney fight is a natural fight,
yeah,
but it would have been better if he'd have managed to get the win. But Haney really needs to. I think that might give him a bit of a shot of confidence because he needed Romero to win, didn't he, Devin Haney, really?
oh yeah. I mean, if Ryan
because
had gone out and knocked the shit out of Rolley Romero, I think that would have really spooked Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney would have been very, very, very nervous.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it would have been. I imagine it would have been like when Errol Spence Errol Spence went to watch Crawford. I can't remember who it was against, but Crawford absolutely destroyed this opponent. It wasn't Avanesian, I don't think, but he absolutely destroyed his opponent. Errol Spence just got up and left.
Yeah, it's like
And
I don't want any
instead
of
of,
that. Yeah,
yeah, I don't want to hear that. I think that's what sort of that's what you may have seen. So it's worked out well for Devin Haney because he was very poor, and I think the fight is still marketable. So that's what we're going to see next.
yeah. I mean, I think that Ryan Garcia um, can certainly perform better than he did. There's a question about his motivation. Like he says, his headspace is good now, but maybe he needs that chaos in his head to train to fight properly. Uh,
Hmm.
there's also a question about whether or not a clean Ryan Garcia can perform.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always the
Bob,
case
that was
when somebody's been busted for PEDs. You wonder, like, well, how long were they on PEDs, and you know, can they perform without it? Like even psychologically, I'm not just saying that physically, but if you know that you've got, it's a weird thing. It's like a placebo effect almost. Like if he
yeah.
knows he's on something, even if it wasn't banned, he might actually perform better because he would think that he was on something.
Yeah, it's psychological.
It's
But that
just,
was the point I was making because I veered off a little bit when I was talking when I mentioned the name Conor Ben. But and then I started talking about his next opponent, Garcia's next opponent. What I actually meant to say was, with Conor Ben, we've seen the effects of because I believe he's a drug cheat. I know many people believe he's a drugs cheat, and we've seen the effects of not being on those drugs potentially. He's fought 3 fights back to back where he's not made a dent in his opponent. All right, you can argue against Chris Eubank, he was fighting a bigger man, but we remember that bigger man was drained and emaciated,
oh
and he
yeah,
still
maybe
couldn't do the
only at
job.
70% of his ability,
Yeah, exactly.
if that.
Exactly. So, we've seen the Conor Ben example. So maybe that is Ryan Garcia, the clean Ryan Garcia, and he's taken that 40% out of him, and he's fighting at 60% as well. So I think Devin Haney's going to need that, particularly on that performance the other night, because even though he won, he stunk the place out, and he needs Ryan Garcia to be depleted somewhat
Yeah,
in order to beat him. I really believe that.
I think that if that rematch takes place, I would still favor Ryan Garcia to beat Devin Haney.
Yeah.
I think that he's got a psychological edge which will always be there. Um, and I would actually want him to win as well. I have I have never actually liked Devin Haney, and there's nothing he's ever done that is deserves me to dislike him. But I just don't
Mm,
like him, and it's possibly
yeah,
because I really don't like his dad. I mean, it's like
probably.
a lot of my dislike for Daniel Dubois comes from Don Charles, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole package, old kit and caboodle. Um, with respect to other opponents for Ryan Garcia, I I actually would like to see Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben fight. I think that is a fight that actually has some appeal to me, and
Yeah.
I don't actually really care very much. I wouldn't necessarily want to be supporting either guy. I would support Ryan Garcia because I sort of kind of like him, even though he's a drug cheat as well. But
Yeah.
it
Well,
would,
I like it. Yeah. He's got a charm about his braggadociousness.
that's right. That's exactly it. Even though he's a scumbag, he's
Mm.
kind of a charming scumbag, a likable rogue, or something like that.
So a charming scumbag, you could argue, is basically a narcissist, but let's
Yeah,
go not get into the realms of psychology. But
yeah.
Yeah, Conor Ben's not likable at all, is he? But I don't want to sully the channel with my opinion on Conor Ben. We all know what it is.
I will say though, particularly since the Conor Ben Chris Eubank Jr. fight was only the prior week, and I think it's fair to say that Conor Ben is sort of British level, maybe Lewis Crocker, Paddy Donovan level, and Chris Eubank Jr. is fringe world, maybe. They put
Mm,
on a way better performance than these absolute mega superstars put on.
they did.
It's like, and I feel like I was very critical of the Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Ben fights. I thought it was a gimmick. It shouldn't happen. Super hype. All sizzle, no steak. All cat, no hattle. No, all hat, no cattle. Whatever you want to say. It still was a better fight by far than what these American superstars, who are like, gods of the ring or whatever you wanted to say, that they put on. Like, one round of Eubank Ben was better than all the rounds of these superstars.
I think, like you said about Gods of the Ring, I think it's easier for Gods of the Ring to settle into complacency
Like Marvin
because,
Hagner said, you're hard to get
yeah,
up to go for a run at 5 in the morning when you're sleeping in silk pajamas.
yeah, and I think Ryan Garcia on paper, and you look at the on paper argument, Teofimo Lopez on paper against Arnold Barboza, who he arguably lost a fight a couple of fights ago, didn't he,
Yeah.
against the Irish fella. His name escapes me. Um, they're settling into complacency. The one thing we had with Ben and Eubank, whether it was manufactured or not, we don't really know whether they might have got together and colluded to really hate each other and all that. But the fact is, the storyline said they hated each other. They had to perform. They
Yeah.
had to live up to all the hype surrounding it. Because let's face it, they aren't world level.
No.
Either of them. It's
And, po-
arguable
and
whether
they
Conor
both
Ben's
bit
even British.
down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they needed to produce, whereas the other lads, who are very, very, yeah, they are. They're lauded and
Yeah.
they're spoken about and cheered and all that. They probably just fell in love with their own hype. So,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
think
what can happen.
the fans have been totally let down. Should we go on to part two?
Indeed, indeed. I'll speak to you in a bit, Rob.
Okay.
Robert,
Awesome.
then I nearly said
Yeah.
Robert.
That's what my mum used to call me.
I know, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
I'll see you in a bit, Bob. Bye.
Okay. Cheers, man. Thanks, everybody, for watching part one. We'll head on to part two. And Jamie and I will talk about the second half of this Fatal Fury fiasco.